She started her mornings with soy milk, the kind labeled heart healthy. Lunch, a stir fry with tofu. Dinner, a soy protein bar with immune support. But quietly, something had shifted. She was still eating right, still walking daily, still doing all the right things. Yet by mid-morning, her thoughts felt foggy, her hands cold, her energy missing. She thought it was just age, but inside her body, something much smaller and quieter was changing everything. This isn't a warning, it's a whisper. Because what if that little square of tofu or cup of soy milk, the ones we've been told are healthy, aren't the problem, but how they interact with the aging body is. After 60, your body doesn't just need nutrients, it needs cooperation, gentle, smart cooperation between hormones, enzymes, and fuel. And when even one part of that system is nudged off balance, like your thyroid, you don't feel it in a diagnosis. You feel it in forgotten words, in heavier mornings, in a quiet shrinking of who you used to be. Today we're not here to cancel soy. We're here to understand it and to learn how a few mindful shifts can return the energy, clarity, and rhythm your body remembers, but may have quietly set aside. 1. The invisible energy switch, your thyroid. There's a tiny butterfly-shaped gland at the base of your neck. It weighs less than an ounce, but it quietly directs how you think, feel, and move, like a backstage conductor no one claps for. This is your thyroid. When it's in harmony, you feel it in ways you don't even notice. You wake with warmth in your chest. Thoughts come like birds landing on a branch. Smooth, light, clear. Your heartbeat finds its rhythm without effort. You're simply you. But as the years pass, that quiet conductor can begin to falter. Not loud enough to be called a disease, just a soft dimming. Slower mornings, colder fingers. The sense that your spark has moved a few inches farther away. For 1 in 14 seniors, this is what doctors call subclinical hypothyroidism. Your test results might not flag anything urgent, but inside, your body is working harder for the same results. And it knows it. Now, enter soy. Soy contains plant compounds called isoflavones, especially genistein and digoxin. They sound harmless, even healing. But these molecules can interfere with an enzyme called thyroid peroxidase, TPO, an enzyme your thyroid needs to attach iodine to the hormones that give you energy. Imagine TPO as the worker holding the final piece of each light bulb in your house. Now imagine that worker being slowed down, not fired, just delayed. The lights still turn on, but they flicker, and some corners of your life, your memory, your digestion, your mood, begin to feel dimmer, not because of one food, one day, but because the system meant to ignite you is now whispering instead of singing, and most people never hear it coming. 2. The mystery fatigue cycle. Margaret didn't complain much. At 68, she was proud to still cook for herself, walk the park loop most days, and keep her mind sharp with puzzles. But lately, something felt off. Her body wasn't broken, just slower. Not tired like after a long walk, but tired in her bones. She'd wake up after 8 hours and still need to sit. Simple tasks, like remembering her neighbor's name or finishing a thought, felt like walking through syrup. It was frustrating, but also confusing. Her doctor ran some tests. Her T4 levels, the main thyroid hormone, came back normal, but her TSH was elevated. To most people, that's a footnote. But to a body in transition, it's a flare. TSH is like the thermostat's cry for heat. Work harder. When it rises, it means your system is straining, even if your numbers look fine. Margaret wasn't put on medication. Her doctor simply offered a theory. Sometimes it's not what we're lacking, but what's interfering. And together, they made 3 small changes. She kept her soy milk, but moved it away from her morning meds. She began adding just a pinch of iodine-rich kelp to her miso soup. She swapped 1 tofu meal per week for tempeh, gently fermented, easier on the thyroid. Nothing radical, no pill, no protocol. Just space, nourishment, and smarter pairing. 8 weeks passed. Her TSH dropped. But more importantly, The light came back behind her eyes. She didn't run marathons. She just felt like herself again. She laughed louder, remembered recipes, picked up speed in her voice. And when her daughter visited, she said, "Mom, you feel more present lately. Sometimes healing doesn't come from subtraction, but from quiet recalibration." Margaret didn't remove soy. She learned how to let her body work with it, not against it. 3. The scientific snapshot. What's really happening in your body? Let's step gently behind the curtain, into the engine room of your energy. At the center of it all is a set of tiny, powerful hormones, T3 and T4. You don't feel them directly, but they orchestrate how fast your heart beats, how easily your food becomes fuel, and how clearly your thoughts move from one to the next. To make those hormones, your thyroid needs two quiet allies: iodine, a mineral like a spark plug, and tyrosine, a building block that turns the spark into a flame. Now enter soy, or more precisely, its isoflavones, genistein and didzane. These plant compounds aren't evil, but they have a curious tendency to block an enzyme called TPO, thyroid peroxidase. TPO is like the hands of a craftsman, fastening iodine into each hormone. Without those hands, hormones still get made, but slower, shakier, and under more internal stress. Imagine building a bridge with only one support beam. It holds, but it strains. That's not all. Isoflavones may also compete with thyroid hormones for the proteins that carry them through your bloodstream. Like passengers fighting for too few taxis, your hormones get cleared out faster before they've delivered their message. This isn't a crash, it's a slow leak. You might not notice on day one, but over months or years, that subtle drag can show up in strange places. Forgetting names, more often, feeling colder than usual, even in warm rooms. Digestive sluggishness that feels unrelated, and a kind of fog that no cup of coffee clears. It's not about fear, it's about awareness, because once you know how this quiet exchange works, you can shift the balance, not by quitting soy, but by feeding the parts of your body that are quietly asking for help. 4. The gentle fix: pairing, spacing, and smart swaps. This isn't about quitting soy, it's about learning how to dance with it. Your body isn't asking you to cancel every food you've ever trusted. It's asking for a little space, a little rhythm, and a few quiet reinforcements to help the parts of you that are working so hard behind the scenes. Let's start with pairing. When you enjoy soy, whether it's tofu, soy milk, or edamame, try inviting a few silent allies to the table. A Brazil nut, rich in selenium, can support the enzymes your thyroid needs to stay steady. A sprinkle of dried seaweed flakes, nori or kelp, adds a gentle boost of iodine, the key mineral your hormones require. Together, they act like quiet coworkers stepping in when one team is short-staffed. Not flashy, not loud, just essential. Next, think about timing. If you take any thyroid medication or even multivitamins with iodine, give them breathing room. Wait at least 4 hours between your soy meals and your supplements. It's not punishment, it's protection. This simple spacing prevents soy's isoflavones from interfering with how your body absorbs the support it needs. Finally, let's talk about fermentation, nature's quiet transformer. Foods like tempeh and miso are still made from soy, but they've been partially broken down through fermentation, a process that reduces their isoflavone load and enhances digestibility. It's like handing your body a form of soy that says, "Don't worry, I've already softened the edges." No extremes, no rules that make you feel restricted. Just a smarter, softer way to keep what you love while supporting the parts of you that are working so hard to keep up. Your thyroid doesn't need a fight, it needs partnership. And with just a few gentle shifts, that partnership becomes not only possible, but powerful. 5. The legacy layer. This isn't just about you. They may not say it out loud, but they're watching. Your grandkids, your grown children, the ones who sit at your table, they notice what you reach for, what you pass on, what you quietly shift. Even when no one's making you, Margaret didn't read a medical journal. She didn't make a big announcement. She just began listening to her body and then to what felt right. A small habit here: shifting her soy milk to the afternoon. A thoughtful choice there, adding a sliver of kelp to her miso soup. She didn't call it a plan, she called it paying attention. One day her daughter asked, "Mom, how come you don't seem as tired lately?" They sat down, and over a bowl of warm soup, they talked. Not just about soy, but about energy, about feeling like yourself again, about food not just as fuel, but as conversation between generations. Now, Sundays look different. Margaret and her daughter chop vegetables together. They laugh at old stories, and they've made miso night a quiet tradition. Not because it's trendy, but because it reminds them that healing can be simple and shared. This isn't just about your thyroid, it's about what your life whispers to those who love you. Because healing isn't always a headline. Sometimes it's a bowl of broth, a softened fatigue, a moment where your presence returns, and someone else feels safe to do the same. That's legacy. And it begins in the smallest of choices, made again and again with quiet strength. Your body isn't behind. It isn't failing you. It's been speaking, not in alarms, but in subtleties. A missed word, a forgotten pan on the stove, a sigh before standing. And maybe now, you're hearing it. Because healing was never a punishment. It was never about perfection. It's remembering how to pause, to notice, to ask the question, what is my body asking for? Gently and without fear. You don't need a new identity. You don't need to erase everything you've done. You just need to return to rhythm, to trust, to the quiet inner knowing that's always been there. This isn't the end of youth, it's the beginning of deeper listening. And in that listening, there is life. If something in today's story touched a quiet place in you, a memory, a moment, a feeling you hadn't named in a while, send this to someone who deserves that same pause. Because healing, at its best, is rarely done alone. Have you ever changed a habit and felt your body breathe differently? Tell us what it was. Your story might be the sign someone else has been waiting for. If this kind of space, soft, thoughtful, grounded, feels like home to you, we'd love to have you stay. Subscribe if it feels right. No rush, no push. Just a seat at the table when you're ready.